commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion. Now, here is Steve Malzberg.
I understand that Israel can't have a ceasefire in which they're not able to, that somehow the tunnels are never going to be dealt with. The tunnels have to be dealt with. We understand that. We're working at that. By the same token, the Palestinians have a ceasefire in which they think the status quo is going to stay, and they're not going to have the ability to be able to begin to live and breathe more freely and move within the crossings and begin to have goods and services that come in from outside. These are important considerations.
I don't even know what to say anymore watching this man talk and listening to him. Welcome back. It's time for the Malzberg panel, and on aforementioned Malzberg panel, joining us is Rick Ungar, of course, host of Steele Ungar on SiriusXM, and Forbes social policy analyst Carrie Sheffield is with us as well. Let me ask you, Carrie, about John Kerry of Israel, of course, can't have a ceasefire without blah, blah, blah. But the Palestinians, not Hamas, not the terrorist group, the Palestinians can't have a ceasefire without getting what they need, the ability to move around and have goods come in, as if either the world are idiots or he's an idiot, because the blockade is in place because Hamas has been importing rockets and concrete to build tunnels. And why would he care what Hamas wants anyway? They're a terrorist group. So what am I listening to here?
You said it, brother. I mean, so I was actually a reporter for the Jerusalem Post. I've been on the ground, and I have to say, when he says, like you said, Palestinians, he's lumping in the West Bank and Gaza, completely different groups. And you look at the administration in the West Bank compared to Gaza, night and day. And what's happening in Gaza is there are extremists, murderers who their founding charter explicitly says we want to kill Jews. That is their mission in life. They want to destroy the state of Israel. So it's mind-blowing that John Kerry thinks somehow that those are the type of people that he can work with. And in fact, Hamas reportedly killed 160 children in order to build their tunnels. They used child labor to build these tunnels. It's really horrific.
Rick?
You know, I hardly know where to start here. First of all, I don't know what Kerry's talking about and throwing the West Bank into that. I don't think the West Bank and Israel are requiring a ceasefire right now. I think it's just Gaza where that's required. What you both seem to fail to understand is that there are Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip who don't support Hamas. John Kerry's not thinking about making Hamas happy. He's thinking about trying to do something to end the deaths that are taking place to innocent people. I think I can safely say that both of you are not big supporters of President Obama. And yet you're Americans, even though you don't support the president. You didn't vote for him. You don't support him. Why do you imagine that everybody who lives in Gaza supports Hamas? In fact, we know from polls that they don't. So
really? What poll is that they don't support Hamas?
There's been, seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
I'll tell you what, Steve, you had me back on this week because I'm not prepared to tell you which one, but there are many. Do you really think that everybody who lives in Gaza supports Hamas?
So did we take a poll during World War II and say which people? What has that got to do with it? This is war.
So,
what would you
suggest?
No.
So let's just
what
kill them all.
would you suggest?
Let's kill them all.
What
Let's kill
would
all
you
the
suggest?
children. Let's just kill all the children because even when we were
kill
in
all the
World
children.
War II, we wanted to kill
well,
all
then,
the
Rick,
kids.
I would suggest that Hamas, the elected government,
they are not elected. You're
me?
wrong. They are not. I'm sorry. Let me speak.
Hamas was
You're
not
wrong.
elected. This
no,
is a
they were
newsflash.
not. Well, I got news for you. They were not
Carrie?
elected. Let me speak.
Yep.
They actually elected the other government, and Hamas got into a war with Fatah, and Hamas won. The Hamas government was not elected on the West Bank, and I'm sorry, in Gaza, and this is just the kind of
Where
stuff
was the war?
you guys throw out
fought
there.
The war? Who fought a war?
Carrie, you want to help me out here since it's a fact?
Look,
I think you'll tell a fact.
I want to say that I do agree that there are some people in Gaza who
would you agree
don't
that
agree
Hamas
with
was
Hamas.
not elected in the Gaza Strip to lead? Please.
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but he's making a big fuss out of this, and it's not true.
Hamas are the elected.
No, they are not.
That's why there has been no Arab Spring in Gaza. the Arab Spring has toppled dictators. Yes, you can question the effectiveness and what's filled that vacuum, but in a lot of places the people stood up and said, enough is enough. We don't want dictators. We don't want this ideology. And so if the people of Gaza wanted this, if they wanted to force them out, they could. And instead, they're spending money trying to destroy Israel instead of trying to build their own population.
Wait,
that's the problem.
Who's spending the money trying to destroy
Gaza.
Israel, Carrie?
And that's money that they're getting from the Arab.
You
know what really upsets me is the supposedly moderate Arab states like Turkey and Qatar. Like they say they're moderate, but they're funding a murderous regime that would rather sacrifice its own children as human shields.
Qatar certainly is, but not Saudi Arabia, not most of the other Arab states as it happens.
Turkey and Qatar. So, well, I want to know from Rick. So what should Israel do?
Israel is doing what they have to do. You know, you conflate and you make the mistake that just because somebody acknowledges what's actually happening, that they must be for one side or another.
You just said keep killing the children.
You keep interrupting me, so I don't know how I've gotten to say anything.
I've been interrupting you?
You did. You're interrupting me right now. Let me finish answering the question. I do support Israel in this battle. Hamas is the one that started lobbing the rockets. And you lob a rocket at my house, I'm going to lob 10 back at your house. But the reason you try and get a ceasefire is because there are innocents being killed. I don't care. I don't care if they kill every Hamas member who ever lived.
The Israelis agreed to a ceasefire brokered by Egypt.
And Hamas created one, and they broke it themselves.
Now you're interrupting Carrie.
I'm agreeing with her. I'm agreeing with her.
But that's still interrupting. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, we had a ceasefire that Egypt, who in the past has been a successful broker, Israel agreed to the outlines of a ceasefire from Egypt, and it was Hamas that snubbed their noses. And so now John Kerry's trying to stick his nose in this when Egypt was, like I said, has been much more effective than John Kerry or, frankly, any American administration has been.
Well, I don't know how you can call Egypt effective since it worked, but I certainly appreciated the effort. But at the same time, it's even worse than that, Carrie, because Hamas suggested a humanitarian ceasefire, and they broke it themselves. Israel went along with it. You're missing my point completely. You can try and paint me in a corner of being supportive of Hamas, but anybody who knows me or anything I've ever said or written knows that just ain't the case.
You said so they should keep killing the children.
Steve,
that's what you
want
said.
to let me say what I said, or you want to interrupt?
You have been talking more than me.
Well, then don't ask me the question.
We'll be right back with the panel part 2 of the panel. And we'll maybe change the topic, maybe not.
No, don't.
Coming back with Rick and Carrie on the Steve Malzberg Show. Panel Part 2, only on Newsmax Television.